iPredict works by gathering the knowledge of its 5,000 plus traders. If a stock has a price of 57 cents, that means the market thinks that event has a 57% chance of happening. If you agree, you buy. If you disagree, you short. And if you're right, you make money. Kia ora, good evening New Zealand. This is day 18 until the country goes to the polls. Welcome to iPredict Election 2011, the most accurate source of political and economic information in New Zealand broadcasting. Our three predictions tonight. Prediction 1. Despite the anger caused by the repeal of Section 59, John Key, who joined Helen Clark to pass the legislation, is currently on 48% party vote. What does this say about our political values, and have we become more socially liberal? Prediction 2. The iPredict market has the Conservative Party at 1.4% party vote, while Mana sits on 2.3%. On the political fringes, is social conservatism and the religious right as a political force waning, while poverty and social justice movements are on the rise? Prediction 3. The iPredict market says that the Greens now have 11.7% party vote. As a party based on values, how far will their values allow them to go to cut a deal with National? To dissect these predictions, let me introduce tonight's panel for political values. He is the last great hope for a socially conservative New Zealand, who created an Auckland mayoral campaign from nothing and won over 40,000 votes. He is the leader of the Conservative Party and pro-smacking referendum campaigner, Colin Craig. And she is the Mana Party spokesperson on well-being, as well as the initiator of the repeal of the Section 59 legislation, anti-poverty campaigner, Sue Bradford. Welcome to you both. We'll also wrap the show with a final prediction. Let's kick things off with tonight's first market prediction. With a forecast 48% party vote on the iPredict market, John Key's support of the repeal of Section 59 hasn't dented his popularity one bit. Has New Zealand become a more socially liberal nation? Colin, with a majority of New Zealanders in a recent poll supporting gay adoption, the Conservative movement's strongest policy position of social conservatism is now no longer relevant to the political spectrum, is it?
Well, I think it is. And I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't relevant. Let's face it. You can't start a party in the sort of time we've started if people won't support it. Every day people joining up, sending in donations. These are just ordinary Kiwis. We couldn't do that if social conservatism wasn't alive and well. And I think it shows that National has walked away perhaps from the ordinary mums and dads and what they want.
When you how do you define social conservatism for New Zealand?
Well, for me, I think in New Zealand it's quite traditional family values, probably looking at it from the point of view of we don't want a constant liberalisation of laws. And I'd say take the prostitution law reform as an example. Social conservatives would have said, no, not something I'm going to support. And in fact, that was the majority of New Zealanders, but not the majority of politicians. And
gay adoption? Where would the Conservative Party be on that?
Well, we don't have a party position on it. Personally, I wouldn't vote for it.
Right. Gay marriage?
No, actually, we don't have a party position on that, but we believe civil unions are sufficient.
Oh, okay, so you're happy with civil unions?
Yeah, it wouldn't change it.
Okay, so so how conservative is conservative? Because New Zealand's a pretty laid-back country,
we are.
As a relaxed sort of people.
We are.
So what would you say is social conservatism? Because that just sounds like the National Party to me. That's what you sound like.
Well, no, not really, because remember the National Party will support, I think they've made it clear they're going to support gay adoption. They do support various liberalisations around laws. Take drinking laws, for example. We take a conservative position that says alcohol's not a great thing. Let's make it more expensive. Let's make it harder to get. Now, you won't see that line from the National Party.
Sure. So, well, because they're great friends with the
alcohol industry. They probably
very
get a bit of
friends.
support from that direction. So I would use that as a clear example of where we're very different from, say, the National Party.
Where does the moral conservatism come in from?
Look, I think governments don't legislate morality well. I mean, this is most people make up their own morals, but I think there's an expectation from the ordinary New Zealander that the laws of the land will reflect how they see it, generally speaking. And I think you mentioned the anti-smacking law, and most New Zealanders were unhappy with that, still are. I think it's credit to John Key and his ability to come off as a very shiny Teflon-coated politician, that he's managed to do so well.
There has been no dent to his popularity, even though he was the one who crossed the divide and helped Helen Clark get it through.
The thing is now, though, now that we've started, and look, we've only been registered 4 weeks, but already we're trending upward in the polls. I believe this is where there may well be a dent in his popularity.
So wasn't the legacy of the repeal of Section 59 the destruction of the Labour Party? The impression of Helen Clark as nanny state gone mad was whipped up by an irresponsible mainstream media feeding frenzy. And on last night's show, David Parker admitted that impression cost Labour the provinces. As a left-wing politician, did you win the battle but lose the war?
I think that the battle to ensure that our children are brought up without violence transcended and went beyond the left-right spectrum, as is very clear from the fact that 113 out of 121 MPs voted for my bill amending Section 59 of the Crimes Act. It was the vast majority of parties and politicians who said that it was time that children had the same protection against assault as adults do. It was as simple as that. So while there's a rump of people for sure that will support parties like Colin's, people who still believe that they should legally have the right to assault their children as part of bringing them up, the vast majority of people in this country have gone past that, and the culture has kept shifting. And while Labour was concerned that the support for Section 59, I think a lot of the anger around that was the fact that they felt like National had got away with it, whereas Labour had been tainted with it, when in fact both National and Labour supported the amendment, and good on both parties.
Yes, absolutely.
And both were courageous. It was difficult for them. And I think there are a whole range of issues that did Labour in, and this was sure it was part of what they were up against. But that whole nanny state image was created by a very slick right-wing PR machine. That because nanny state, I mean, National is just as nanny state if you want to talk about it that way, which I don't.
Telling 16 and 17-year-olds what they can buy on a little credit card seems like a nanny state on steroids.
It's more nanny state than anything to do with Section 59.
Do you think though that we have a history in New Zealand of social progress, a lot of anger and heat, and then it kind of just dissipates after a while because people actually don't see the worst? Because you've had this is a great example, the repeal of Section 59. Of course, legalisation of homosexuality in this country caused the same, apparently Western civilization as we know it was going to end, cats and dogs sleeping together, planes falling from the sky. And you had the same type of debates in the 70s, of course, when women came forward and demanded that just because you were married to someone, you could still be raped within marriage. We had those same sorts of arguments, and every time the Conservative side have stepped up, been very loud, but have been defeated. Do you see the legacy of repeal of Section 59 more positively?
Well, I think it's just another one of these paroxysms of social change that happens, and all these changes were going to happen at some point.
Sure.
And you can look back and historically say, yes, it's just natural. It's an evolution that's happening all around the world. And Section 59 is just another one of those huge social changes. It certainly created massive division in our society, but as those of us on our side of the debate believed at the time, it has come true, and that is all those predictions that our opponents made, none of them have happened, and there is a gradual shift as more and more people realise that actually it is better to bring up our kids without violence.
What is your problem with the idea that we should try and keep kids free from violence? What is because I've seen some pretty horrific cases in court where people have tried to defend the use of what you would amount to just actual assault as some type of disciplinary action. What's your thoughts?
Let's look at the key driver of where I think the issue lies here, and that is that 87% of those that voted in the referendum did not want that law. And
do you think that was something to do with the question though? Because there was a lot of criticism about the way the question was phrased, wasn't there?
Well, there was, and I think the question could have been phrased a lot better. But at the end of the day, that question was the one that was approved, and it was not the original one that was asked for. It's about democracy, and this is where we connect with people. And yes, I organised a march around democracy.
That's right.
The anti-smacking was only one of the 3 planks that was in that march. The other 2 was reduction of the number of MPs, and of course law and order. And people still believe they are right on those 3 issues. I think those were issues that went to the vote. People voted and saw government say no to them when they were overwhelmingly in support of the proposition.
But do you think that we can have a situation in our judiciary where a child who has been assaulted by whomever doesn't get the same protections as an adult who has been assaulted?
Well, no, look, and
I mean, wasn't
of
it a
course
loophole that was being closed?
No, I don't believe it was. I personally do believe in discipline.
Hey, we all believe in discipline. Goddamn
and
kids
force,
need discipline.
and
But
some level of
that doesn't
force.
mean that doesn't mean that you should strike a child.
Well, that'll be where we disagree.
Right.
I personally think a smack on the backside is a wonderful tool in learning. It's how I was brought up.
There is quite a lot of academic research out there that suggests that isn't the case,
There's
though, isn't
a lot
there?
of academic research that says otherwise, however. So you've got to acknowledge that
Okay.
there's a debate that goes on here. I was brought up that way, and I was very happy to be brought up that way. My dad was the dean at a school, and in that school, the only one that could administer canings and so forth were deans. And so he had plenty of practice.
So he had plenty of practice.
Absolutely he did.
Yeah, okay.
And you know, and me and my dad are best friends.
Okay.
And I understood right from an early age, he never enjoyed it, neither did I, and it certainly was corrective to me in growing up. Now, I know that that's not everybody's experience, and I know that there are people who do not understand that there's a line.
Yeah.
And
So should the law be there to protect those people,
Well,
those
the
children?
law was already there to protect them, and I find it upsetting that we have a law now that's influencing negatively great parents, and it is, when in fact we have made no real inroads.
Question to both of you. Do either of you think John Key ever hit his kids to discipline them? He doesn't strike me as a hitter. Doesn't strike me as a hitter.
Well, I think he said he did in an interview, but look, at the end of the day, I think there's some people who are going to do violence. Those people are not going to be checked by a law. Those people, most of the time, from the research I understand, are people who have problems around anger, problems around alcohol and drugs.
So a large percentage of the adult population, right?
Well, look,
a large percentage of the adult population.
If we want to be serious about solving those issues, we've got to go into what are those root causes.
At a 49% party vote for National, 48%, would you buy the stock because John Key has managed to bridge the divide between policy for the rich and looking socially liberal, or would you short that stock because National won't get 4% higher than their 2008 total?
No, I'd short the stock.
You'd short it? You're not saying 49%?
No.
You had an interesting call on this.
I would definitely short that stock.
You're out in the Rodney heartland,
Absolutely.
the heartland of
National.
National, and you're saying Heartland National don't like the way that National have veered off from being a socially conservative party?
There are some major issues that National have to get over here. Their supporters, while some of them may think hocking off the state assets is a good thing, many don't. And a lot of our support's coming from people who just don't want to sell stuff.
Thank you, panel. Let's move on to prediction 2. The market is suggesting the Conservative Party will get 1.4% of the vote. Have the religious right and social conservatism as a political influence waned? Colin, Karl Marx described organised religion as the opiate of the masses. Have the masses replaced organised religion with hyper-consumerism? And is social liberalism here to stay? I mean, are you effectively a political Luddite by ignoring the tide of progressive history?
Well, that's a long, complicated quote that you've got there. Let me just start by saying this. Probably not the best person to quote on religion, because I'm not a churchgoer myself. But
you do draw a lot of support from Christians. But
certainly, and there is, if you look historically in New Zealand, there have been in the past Christian parties, which have gained quite a level of support.
Have, absolutely.
So, and let's acknowledge that over 50% of New Zealanders do call themselves Christian, whatever that
Although we're
mean.
on that threshold of actually being declared a secular nation, because religion isn't all that big yet.
But amongst ethnic populations too, and I get a lot of support from ethnic populations, they often have very strong religious values. Not Christian ones, but still. And they're often very centred around family, around morals, around a clean and decent society. Now, we are... iPredict has us at 1.4%.
That's right,
Remember, we've been registered 4 weeks, and in every poll, bar one, we are already going up constantly. Where we'll end up is a lot higher than that.
You are currently on the Horizon Radio Live poll at 4.4%.
Correct. And going up every week, so we're pretty happy with that.
But you would need to win an electorate seat to have any representation.
Absolutely, and because
and you think Rodney?
Very confident in winning.
I like how confident he is in Rodney.
Well, look, we've polled it independently twice, and we'll poll it one more time, and I've been up in the high 40s.
Leak me those numbers.
I'm happy to do
So, some would argue that without good old-fashioned moral authority from the church, society has gone to hell in a handbasket. Haven't godless heathen politicians like you doomed us all? Where do social justice movements like Mana gain their moral authority from?
Mana gains its moral authority from our kaupapa, which is centred deeply in the indigenous people of this country, and beliefs like whanaungatanga, kaitiakitanga, our belief that and commitment to te riti o waitangi is the true basis of the relationship between the indigenous people and those of us, our ancestors that came at that time, and trying to make that reality. We are a deeply values-based ropu. We don't call ourselves a party, we call ourselves a movement. And it's the first time, and I've been in left-wing politics for a long time, and it's the first time, that I've been in a organisation that is Māori-led, Māori-focused, but which welcomes in everybody, Pākehā, Pacifica, Asian people, which I think is a really turning point in our treaty journey. And secondly, it's the first time I've been in a broad-based party that's mainly made up of Māori and of working class people, of beneficiaries, of people from the bottom, people who are having the hardest time. And so our whole kaupapa and values are based around the needs of the people who have least in Aotearoa. Instead of being a disjunction, as there is, for example, in the Green Party, between a commitment to social justice, but a very, very middle class, comparatively well-off membership. Nothing wrong with that, but the base of Mana is very, very different, and I feel really honoured to be one of the representatives for Mana in this election.
Because that sounds to me like something that is moving progressively forward.
Absolutely.
Where the social conservatism, hey, at 1.4%, they're saying your history's footnote.
Well, 1.4% gain in a few weeks is pretty good.
Well, you're so optimistic you could work at Treasury. Question of
This
both
is
of you.
democracy.
Question
I'd
of
love to
both
work
of you.
at Treasury.
Question of both of you. I'm not one to quote scripture, but if we're talking social conservatism and the religious right, Matthew 19:24 tells us that it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. I'm no biblical scholar, but that does sound like a redistributive tax system, doesn't it? Can social justice be socially conservative?
Yes, but it depends what you mean by socially conservative. There are things, I noted a number of people who filled in Colin's conservative study, and including myself, out of interest.
Who were shocked to find they were conservatives?
Shocked to find that on some matters we are conservative.
Yeah.
I believe in family. I've married for nearly 32 years, had 5 children. Very much believe in my family and my children come first, and that our children come first, which of course is what backed my Section 59 debate. The debate around Section 59 is an argument that's as much about values and about the Bible for people on my side of the debate as it was for people on the side Colin was on.
Do you accept
because
that?
there's different views of how the Bible's interpreted
indeed,
what Jesus stands for.
Indeed.
And some of us believe Jesus stands for
A lot
compassion
more.
and
That's
love.
right. That's right. He was a bit of a socialist at heart. He would have been voting Green, wouldn't he?
And
He wouldn't be. Who would Jesus vote for? Would he be voting for the Conservative
I'd
Party?
love to think he'd vote for the Conservative Party. But look, the reason, and a lot of people were surprised when they looked at what we stood for, and they said, hang on. I had a lot of particularly Labour supporters who have come across to us who've gone, I actually agree with your stuff. And it tends to be because I think people have this perception that the centre-right are not going to have a conscience. Now, that's very much not us. We do have a conscience, and I do believe that social justice and social conservatism can work together and actually should, because if we care about family, if we hold values of community and society dear, how can we not care about, say, those who are impoverished in our society?
It seems to me, though, that the Conservatives in the past have used family not as an exclusive word, but as an inclusive, as in we're talking our families, not yours. We're talking traditional mum, dad, kids, no one's gay, they're all straight, and they all go to work and go to church. That doesn't seem like a definition of family as a whānau, as a wider. You seem to have defined it very, very narrowly. Why is that?
Well, I don't think we, the Conservative Party of New Zealand, have defined it that
Well, if
narrowly.
you look at your website, it's very family. You're very specific about the family.
But we're also inclusive of community in that. And I think that takes it broader than the narrow experience of mum and dad or mum or dad, because in our society now, we've got a lot of people that are not in what we may call, say, an ideal or a traditional family. But they can connect through a community. And so I think we have to be broader and take in community, because that's where a lot of people connect.
Isn't it a little arrogant to try and hold that definition up as the proper family, mum and dad, in the first place, though? Because it seems like you're being magnanimous.
Yeah,
we're being nice to let you in the family.
No, we're not saying proper family, but certainly a traditional family. That's
Right.
what
Okay,
most
yeah,
traditional
traditional
families
family.
were in
Yep.
this country. And many still are, but not all are. And so I think we have to acknowledge, in whatever we're trying to do in this country to work, we've got to be broader than just narrow family.
Question of both here. 1.4% is Conservative Party a buy because a larger voter turnout will give them a better result, or would you short that stock because Colin hasn't reached out enough to his Christian base? What would you say?
I think I'd short that stock.
You'd short it? No more than 1.4? Oh, Sue has given you some grief here.
Yes, she is.
Shorting you at 1.4. Where do you think you're going to be?
Oh, look, given that the polls already coming in more than that, that's a buy for me.
Well, so what? Where would you start shorting it?
Well, look, I mean, I was...
You're going to go to 4% and
No,
then say, okay.
I'd go higher than that, because a third of voters in Auckland, in the Auckland mayoralty, 9% of that came in as for me.
Yep.
I do believe we can go much higher than 4.
But they're also going to be National Party voters, aren't they? John Key's smile and wave is very... Look,
Yeah.
hey, 48%. 48%.
We are only 1 week into a 4-week election
Yep.
campaign. This is a very, very unusual election.
It is.
I think any prediction with 3 weeks, which is 3/4 of the time to go,
Yep.
is premature. We've got to wait and see here.
He really could work for Treasury. Thank you, panel. Moving on to prediction 3. Another party of values is the Greens. How do the Conservative Party leader and former Green Party MP feel about the Greens' rise in the polls and their flirtation with the National Party? Craig, surely you should feel a little betrayed by National. Rather than cuddling up to you and the conservative values that the National Party were founded on, here they are, flirting with the Greens and making coffee dates. Do you have a coffee date with John Key lined up? How do Conservatives feel about this blue-green romance?
Look, I think there are a couple of issues here. Number one, I think the difficulty for National is that we do represent something of a threat to them.
Right.
We are, if you like, a conscience they don't want to have. We sit on the centre-right, and yet we're saying big borrowing, big spending isn't the way to go, and that's what National's been doing. And ACT have been a pretty cooperative party, if you like to put it that way. You could put it a lot stronger than that. But we're not there. We're not making deals. We're happy to attack them. We don't believe in selling the state assets. We don't believe that the tax cuts for the rich came at the right time. Clearly, they were premature. We're an economy in trouble.
We're borrowing $1 billion for those tax cuts. Borrowing $1 billion.
And that doesn't make sense. If you're going to be fiscally responsible, and that very much is a core value for us, National did it wrong. And we're prepared to say that, and that's not convenient for National.
So you left the Greens because they had moved to the right. Well, that's certainly a perception by the wider media. We have Bill English and Metiria Ture flirting through the media, and it's seen them gain 11.7% on the iPredict market. Some are going to say you and the left activist faction of the Greens was stopping the Greens from gaining double-digit support. Do you think environmentalism can hold hands with policy that increases poverty?
Oh, I think certainly you can be in favour of environmental justice at the same time as social justice, and Mana is totally on that kaupapa.
Yep.
And the Green Party was
for
many years, and I was totally supportive of the Green Party. My disillusion really came when the Green Party began to flirt with the idea of being part of a support arrangement with the national government, or with the national government, and when it supported things like emission trading schemes, which I see as just another capitalist game, part of propping up a failed capitalist system.
Sure.
When if we really want to deal with the impact of climate change and resource depletion, we've got to take very different measures. Playing on the markets isn't going to cut it, doesn't do anything for the environment, and actually increases poverty. So when the Greens started going in that direction, wanting to appeal to the mainstream, to the middle ground, there really wasn't a place left for people like me.
Right.
And that process just happened quite gradually.
So you didn't leave the party left you?
Well, you could look at it both ways round, but you know, I know when I'm on a losing side.
Yeah.
And I think there's probably most of the Greens are really happy that I left.
Right.
Because it makes their position much simpler and cleaner.
They don't have to pretend to be working class anymore. They can actually be middle class, right? Openly middle class. Not so much green, more lime.
Well, there are some great, there's great people in the Green Party.
Absolutely.
Great
Gareth
policies,
Hughes is on the
but
show.
it's
Metiria Ture, wonderful.
great people, great policies. Many of my friends are in there. But it's the direction the party's taken is a totally valid place on the political spectrum. But it's driven by people who think that Green is about being what they say beyond left, beyond right, but out in front.
Right.
A slogan I actually detest.
They don't like the word ideology.
The greening of capitalism is where it's at. Rather than transitioning to a better economic and social system.
Question to both of you: what is more compatible, social conservatism and environmentalism, or social justice and environmentalism? What can conservatism be environmental?
Well, we are a very pro-environment party, and I consider myself actually very much an environmentalist.
Yep.
And I think Sue and I might have quite a few agreements on things around environment. So can we work with environmental agenda? Absolutely, because we have one ourselves.
Right.
And our one is fertile soil, drinkable water, breathable air.
Right.
And I think that's something every New Zealander would actually aspire to, because most New Zealanders do genuinely care.
Social justice and environmentalism are bed partners, aren't they?
Oh, environmentalism, Colin's right, environmentalism can be part of anyone's political agenda. It's just that I come from a space where economics is just as important as the environment. What happens to people is important as well as what happens to the environment. It's a mutually interdependent relationship. So you can't get rid of the economics. Environmentalism alone can be anywhere on the spectrum, from hard right fascism right through to totally hard left, and everywhere, anarchist, everywhere in between.
But you actually need justice.
But I'm an eco-socialist, to put it bluntly, which means that people count, and so we need both Papatū and Nuku, and to care for the natural world around us, but at the same time we have to care for those who have least, and work for a much fairer society where every child that's born has a chance, not just some children.
You're sounding more spiritual and holistic than I thought the Conservative Party would sound. This is a wonderful fix. At 11.7% party vote, would you buy that stock because the Herald will keep promoting the Greens as the only opposition, or would you short it because the Greens poll well before but always collapse on voting day? 11.7 too high for them, or would you keep going?
No, I'd short it.
Short it?
Just slightly, because the Greens always do poll slightly high.
Don't they?
Yeah.
Are you going to short it, or are you going to buy that stock?
I have to say, Sue's right. It's a bit too high.
Bit too high?
Too high.
Would you expect them to get 10?
I think they're going to get just under.
Look at you. Look at you. And where's the Conservative Party going to be on?
Well, I'd like to think we catch the Greens, but I don't know if we will.
Thank you, panel. Let's wrap the show to final prediction. Sue, your final prediction tonight is?
I reckon Mana's going to pick up 2 seats, Te Tokoro and Wairiki.
Yes, great stock on Wairiki right now. Absolutely incredible stock.
2 seats for Mana and 5% in the poll.
5% in the poll. Wow,
good.
That is huge. I don't know about the 5%, but certainly at the moment Mana is picking up in the total vote, and Wairiki stock is going through the roof. Your final prediction?
We'll win 1 seat, Rodney.
Yes.
We will take a growing amount of vote off National. I do not believe National will do as well as they did last time percentage, and I think it's going to be a very difficult coalition discussion for National.
I think you could be a good 3%. I think you're going to be a bit of like Mana, a bit of a dark horse in this election. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Colin. To my final prediction, the little traded what share of the party vote will all other parties win at the next election stock is my pick for a heavy buy. Trading at 2.9%, with Mana and Conservative Party combined votes currently at 3.9%. It's an easy buy. And with rumours circulating that National think they may have an outright majority, making ACT needless, the punt that Goldsmith will win in Epsom is as good a buy as it was yesterday. Tomorrow night, I'm joined by NBR political columnist Matthew Hooton and Mana Party leader Hone Harawira. Expect fireworks. Follow me on my Citizen Bomber Twitter and Facebook account for all my latest election updates. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow, 7 p.m. for iPredict Election 2011, exclusively on Stratus TV. Until then, get trading.